in India, as you yourself said just now,
sentimento histórico.
It has a historic feeling which you translated really well
certamente
there.
vai
And of
falar
course,
e repetir aqui.
you will probably repeat and mention here.
Chegaram aqui 250 empresários e empresárias brasileiros.
Had with us 250 Brazilian business people and over 400 Indian business people. And I'd like to thank the organizations here in India, also our embassy, our offices,
a senhora diretora-geral da FICCI, que está aqui presente conosco, a nossa contraparte que nos auxiliou na organização desse evento. Só queria dizer, presidente, que a sua sugestão de incluir aqui no nosso fórum a presença de ministros, nós tivemos então 6 painéis debatendo temas que foram ajustados pelo interesse da Índia e do Brasil. Nós tivemos 7 ministros fazendo pronunciamento, começando com o ministro Haddad cedo, que deu uma panorâmica, como o senhor pediu, do ambiente de negócio no Brasil. E os demais ministros fizeram a abertura dos painéis que se seguiram, que foram mais 6. Queria dizer ao senhor que alguns grandes empresários brasileiros também conseguiram agenda e vieram prestigiar o fórum.
Find time in their busy schedule and came to take part in this forum. So I would just like to mention that it is very important to have the attendance of the President of Vale, Mr. Pimenta, who is announcing Brazilian investment here in India of over $500,000 here in this trip. We have here Embraer. I'm not going to mention the figure, but at the meeting with the business groups, 2 groups, right, announced cooperation investment with Embraer here in India as well as Brazil. So they talked and told the president that they're about to make this happen. So it's as you wanted Mr. President Brazil arriving in India, but this is a two-way street, right? I would also like to mention the attendance of Marcos Molina. I know how difficult it was for him to come because he is an incredibly busy person. Also Junior, who is here.
E na pessoa deles, eu queria agradecer a todos que vieram nesse fórum, mas sem a presença das entidades, das organizações também empresariais que são parceiras da FICCI, a gente não teria condição de organizar um evento como esse. A CNI também está aqui presente, participou, dando apoio, está com representantes e algumas pessoas. E as minhas palavras são, obviamente, já se encerram. Eu prefiro encerrar com o otimismo que eu assisti na reunião ainda há pouco. Uma modelagem extraordinária de ver 12 líderes empresariais indianos dizendo que apostam no Brasil, que estão no Brasil, que vão para o Brasil, que vão investir no Brasil por conta do ambiente de negócio que o governo do presidente Lula criou, pelo momento que a gente vive no Brasil, que o ministro Haddad falou de manhã. Eles fizeram uma conta lá, o ministro do Comércio e o senhor Chandra fizeram uma conta do valor de mercado dos grupos que estavam presentes na reunião com o presidente Lula até agora. $1 trilhão. É o valor de mercado das empresas que se reuniram com o presidente Lula. Eu acho que isso é uma coisa extraordinária, porque foram anunciados, eu não vou falar porque tem que fazer uma contabilidade, mas o grupo falou em 5 bilhões de investimento no Brasil, outros falaram em R$1 bilhão de investimento, enfim, já nesse ano, iniciando os investimentos, nós vamos divulgar certamente para a imprensa esses propósitos de investimento no Brasil. Mas eu só queria, por fim, dizendo que esse é o 20º encontro do Fórum Empresarial, o próximo é segunda-feira em Seul, na Coreia, que para mim é uma honra muito grande ter a confiança do presidente para ajudar a liderar esse tipo de evento, com a ajuda de tantas pessoas, a fazer uma reunião como aquela que deu muito trabalho
a meeting such as the one now who it was hard work to get together. My dear friend, Minister Márcio Elias, knows how difficult it is for us to put together a meeting like that, but with the goodwill of the Indian leaders and Mr. Chandra, we managed to get this done. It was important meeting, an objective meeting, and we leave the meeting with the feeling that Brazil and India are indeed going to reach a trade flow which is going to be much higher than we've actually got now. I mentioned $100 billion. Mr. Chandra talked about $100 billion. India's Minister of Trade also talked about $100 billion because it makes no sense for Brazil to have $150 billion of trade flow with China, $100 billion with the US, have almost $100 billion trade flow with Europe, and have $15 billion with India. It makes absolutely no sense, and this is what we're putting our chips on. That this forum, that this state visit by the President is going to take us into a new phase, a new happy story of those who believe this, Brazilians and Indians alike, because this relation of these two countries, which are the two biggest democracies in the global south, the two big economies of the global south. So we are starting again, because when Brazil was founded, today we were saying this, when Brazil was founded, if you will, it was a connection with India, because there's a version of the story that Pedro Alves Cabral, he was trying to find a shortcut to India, and he ended up in Bahia, in Brazil. So hey, good. So we started like that, right? We'll go Salvador, and then, Salvador, of our dear Governor Geronimo, who honors us with his presence. So President Lula, congratulations and thank you very much for the trust, and you give us the privilege of helping you in this kind of work. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Vienna, for your valuable remarks and also for your leadership throughout the forum. Ladies and gentlemen, we now proceed with the exchange of the Memorandum of Understanding, first between Apex Brazil and the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce and Industry, FICCI. We invite on the stage the Business Director of Apex Brazil, Ms. Ana Hepeza, the Director General of FICCI, Ms. Jyoti Vij, the President of Apex Brazil, Mr. Jorge Viana, and the President of FICCI and Vice Chairman of RPG Group, Mr. Anand Goenka. This MOU strengthens cooperation to promote trade and investment between India and Brazil. Thank you. You may kindly take your seats. And we now continue with the Memorandum of Understanding between Embraer and Adani Defence and Aerospace. We would like to invite on the stage the President of Embraer, Mr. Francisco Gomes Neto, and the CEO of Adani Defence and Aerospace, Mr. Ashish Rajwanshi, and the Director, Mr. Jeet Adani. The MOU is for the establishment of a final assembly line for the E-175 aircraft in India to strengthen the local regional transport ecosystem with globally proven efficiency and reliability. The aircraft will contribute to the next phase of Indian regional connectivity. We thank the representatives. And we now proceed with the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between Fiocruz and Biocon Pharma Limited. We invite on stage the Vice President for Production and Health Innovation of Fiocruz, Ms. Priscilla Ferraz Sores, the Global Head of Business Development and Chief Operating Officer for Emerging Markets of Biocon Pharma Limited, Mr. Sushil Umesh, and the Honorable Minister of Health of Brazil, Mr. Alexandre Fadela. This MOU establishes the R&D in strategic pharmaceutical ingredients and medicines for SUS, with emphasis on rare diseases, oncology, and immunosuppressants. We request Ms. Priscilla to kindly take her seat, and we call upon stage His Excellency the Governor of Bahia, Mr. Jeronimo Rodrigues, representing the Bahia farmer, and the CEO of BioNovis, Mr. Odnir Finoti. Ladies and gentlemen, today Bahia Pharma, Biocon and Biologics and BioNovis have celebrated a partnership for the productive development of the medicine pertuzumab, indicated the HER2 metastatic breast cancer. The estimated annual procurement value of BRL 503.4 million, an estimated population served of 72,000 patients. Thank you. We request our dignitaries to kindly take their seats. And we now have the honor of the exchange of the Memorandum of Understanding between NMDC Limited, Wales SA, and Adani Gangavaram Port Limited. And we would like to invite on stage from NMDC, Mr. Vijay Kumar, the Technical Director. From Wale SA, the CEO, Gustavo Pimante, and Sergio Fernandez, Director of the Product and Business Development, and from Adani Gangavaram Port, Mr. Amit Malik, the CEO. The MOU establishes a cooperation to create a facility under a Special Economic Zone (SEZ) regime at the port of Gangavaram, intended for blending and selling iron ore fines. The project is valued at approximately $500 million. Thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, we now invite the President of FICCI and Vice Chairman of RPG Group, Mr. Anand Goenka, to kindly felicitate the Honorable President of Brazil with a green certificate. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a FICCI initiative wherein a thicket of 100 trees will be planted at Ram Bhumi, Ayodhya, Uttar Pradesh for ecotourism in the name of His Excellency, symbolizing the shared commitment to sustainability and a greener future. May I now request Mr. Anand Goenka to kindly do the honors of felicitating Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry of the Government of India, Mr. Piyush Goyal. Thank you, sir. We now invite Mr. Anand Goenka to kindly share his remarks.
His Excellency, Mr. Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, Honorable President of the Republic of Brazil, Shri Piyush Goyal, Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Jorge Viana, President, Apex Brazil, colleagues on the dais, business friends, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boa tarde. On behalf of FICCI and the Indian business community, it is my great honor to welcome you to the Indian-Brazilian Business Forum. We are honored to welcome President Luis Inácio Lula da Silva and the accompanying high-level delegation, whose presence reflects the deepening strategic and economic partnership between India and Brazil. We are also privileged to have Shri Piyush Goyal ji, Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry, whose leadership continues to strengthen India's global trade and investment engagement. India and Brazil share a partnership built on democratic values and a commitment to inclusive, sustainable, people-centric growth. Our cooperation spans BRICS, IBSA, G20, Global Biofuel Alliance, International Solar Alliance, and the United Nations, and is increasingly translating into stronger economic and business ties. Brazil remains India's key trading partner in Latin America. In 2025, bilateral trade reached $15 billion, growing over 25% this year, and we have heard that we are looking at a $100 billion target over time. India offers significant opportunities for Brazilian companies. A fast-growing economy, a large domestic market, and sustained reforms in taxation, logistics, digital infrastructure, and industrial policy. Initiatives such as Make in India, Digital India, and PLI schemes strengthen India's position as a hub for manufacturing, innovation, and global operations. Both countries are founding members of BRICS, FICCI being the official secretariat for the BRICS Business Council, and the BRICS Women Business Alliance in India has consistently worked to deepen the economic engagement between our economies. With India assuming the BRICS presidency this year, after a very successful term under Brazil's presidency last year, we look forward to carrying forward the agenda of strengthening BRICS business ties and aligning our economic priorities for collective growth. Looking ahead, India and Brazil can work together in strengthening supply chains, advancing sustainable agriculture, expanding clean energy and biofuels, deepening healthcare and pharmaceutical cooperation, and promoting innovation through startups and digital technologies. I must acknowledge that it's been a very encouraging day with productive sessions throughout and several MOUs having been signed between Indian and Brazilian stakeholders in key sectors such as pharma, defense, agriculture, show a strategic economic partnership between the two countries. FICCI remains committed to working with partners in both countries to translate dialogue into tangible outcomes. With these words, I once again extend a very warm welcome to all distinguished delegates and wish the India-Brazil Business Forum every success. Obrigado, dhanyavad, thank you.
We sincerely thank Mr. Anand Goenka for his thoughtful remarks and for the valuable reflections. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now privileged to hear from a visionary leader who has played a transformative role in shaping India's global trade engagement and economic strategy. It is now our distinct honor to invite Shri Piyush Goyal ji, Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry, Government of India, for the special address.
Your Excellency, Mr. Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, Honorable President of the Federative Republic of Brazil, Excellencies, Honorable Ministers from Brazil, Mr. Viana, President of Apex Brazil, Mr. Goenka, President of FICCI, all the distinguished guests, business persons, captains of industry gathered here today, friends from both Brazil and India, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. Namaste, boa tarde. It is indeed a great privilege and distinct honor to host His Excellency, the President of Brazil, the delegation from Brazil, all the distinguished ministers, business persons, and friends who have joined us at this Brazil-India Business Forum. This visit certainly marks a defining moment in the relationship between two of the world's largest democracies. India and Brazil have both demonstrated a very remarkable diplomatic relay. In September 2023, we passed on the G20 presidency to Brazil under His Excellency President Lula. And in 2026, Brazil is passing on the BRICS presidency to India. We congratulate Brazil for the successful BRICS summit, and I'm hopeful that we'll continue to receive your guidance and support as we take forward the agenda during the current year. Brazil has always been a very strong voice for the global South, and on behalf of 140 crore Indians, today, Excellency, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to you and the people of Brazil for the high honor that you bestowed upon our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji by conferring the Grand Collar of the National Order of the Southern Cross when he visited Brazil. This honor, friends, is a testament to the profound and lasting friendship between our two great nations. India and Brazil are natural partners. Our relationship is built on the foundation of democracy, diversity, and shared aspirations for development. We have a strong, multifaceted, strategic partnership driven by people-to-people ties and expanding cooperation across sectors. Brazil is India's largest trading partner in Latin America and the Caribbean region. Our bilateral engagement has continued to deepen in several areas such as defense, energy, agriculture, agrochemicals. We are also expanding cooperation in health and pharma, energy including renewable energy, critical minerals, defense, the aviation sector, and there is significant growth in our collaboration in science and technology, the digital public infrastructure, artificial intelligence, as well as in space technologies. I agree with both the previous speakers and with His Excellency the President in an earlier engagement that our bilateral trade, even though it has grown by 25% last year, at $15 billion is truly suboptimal. We have to be significantly more ambitious. Today, President Lula and Prime Minister Modi have both set much higher benchmarks, but I am confident, seeing the excitement in the earlier engagement and this evening with all of you, that we should aspire to grow faster, to grow bigger, and to grow together for the shared prosperity of both nations. Our partnership also has many other dimensions: our South-South cooperation, our BRICS cooperation, our cooperation in the IBSA, our cooperation in the G20, at the WTO. And I'm very confident that the future is very bright for both countries. India, Excellency, recently concluded a series of new high-quality free trade agreements and is actively negotiating many more as a part of our fast advancing trade strategy. With these agreements, India now enjoys preferential access to nearly 2/3 of global trade. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the 9 FTAs that we have finalized significantly deepen our integration with key developed economies. These FTAs span partnerships with several countries across continents, giving our exporters unprecedented market access into high-value, high-income countries. These new FTAs mark a decisive step in positioning India at the center of the global value chains. We are in active negotiations with many other countries with whom we hope to enter into free trade agreements. We have finalized terms of reference with Israel, with the GCC, and we have also launched discussions with Canada and hope to launch free trade agreement negotiations with them in the near future. The Mercosur region is particularly important for us, and we are working to expand our India-Mercosur preferential trade agreement to improve market access, to grow investments on both sides, to have technology partnerships, to engage in sports, education, culture, etc. Excellency, your visit comes at a time when both our economies are experiencing renewed momentum. India today is the world's fastest growing major economy. Our real GDP growth in the second quarter of this year was upward of 8%. This growth reflects the structural transformation of India's economy under Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi since 2014. We are on track to surpass Germany in the next 2 years or so to become the world's third largest GDP. This growth, friends, is driven by reforms in taxation, logistics, manufacturing, digital infrastructure, reducing compliance burden, making it easier to do business, and supporting the efforts of our business community across all regions, all sectors. We have positioned India today as a trusted and reliable destination for global business and investments. Friends, in the financial year 25 alone, India attracted nearly $80 billion in foreign direct investment, the highest ever so far in a single year. This has been driven by our competitive investment climate and transformative schemes supporting industry in sectors like semiconductors, green energy, electric mobility, amongst others. We also actively promote outward investment to other regions, and therefore these free trade agreements will play an important role in building the right climate for India's industry to grow domestically and internationally. When we think of Brazil, we think of its rich natural resources. Minerals like niobium, lithium, and iron ore are vital for shaping the future of technology and global energy transition. Brazil is also a global agriculture powerhouse, producing several products that help feed billions. Brazil's aerospace, automotive, and digital technology industries are rapidly evolving, offering abundant opportunities for collaboration. All of this comes together to make Brazil our strategic partner in global supply chains. Together, we have the potential to reshape global supply or global value chains with resources, innovation, and a forward-looking vision. We warmly invite Brazilian companies to partner with us in these areas, co-creating jobs, adding value, and supporting each other with technology. Our shared commitment to safeguarding national interests and promoting equitable access ensures that global intellectual property frameworks consider the concerns of developing countries, particularly in protecting indigenous technology. In July 2025, on his state visit to Brazil, Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi and President Mr. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva agreed to deepen the India-Brazil strategic partnership. We support that initiative wholeheartedly from the business community of both countries. The state visit of His Excellency will provide another opportunity for both sides to chart a forward-looking agenda and strengthen our bilateral strategic partnership to reach greater heights. As President Lula da Silva rightly said, no one can reap the fruit before planting the trees. Today, let us plant the seeds of a stronger India-Brazil partnership, nurturing them with collaboration and innovation so that we can reap the fruits of mutual prosperity in the years to come. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, President Lula. Namaskar.
Thank you, Honourable Minister, sir, for your inspiring address and for outlining a forward-looking roadmap for India-Brazil economic cooperation. And ladies and gentlemen, we now arrive at the most distinguished moment of the plenary session. It is a profound honor to welcome a global statesman and an enduring champion of South-South cooperation, His Excellency Mr. Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, the Honorable President of the Federative Republic of Brazil, who has been a steadfast advocate of inclusive growth and social justice, sustainable development and stronger cooperation among emerging economies.
Bem, o dia de hoje é um dia muito promissor.
A very promising day
para a Índia
for India
e para o Brasil.
And for Brazil.
Por isso eu quero cumprimentar
And this is why
o ministro do Comércio e Indústria da República
I'd
da
like
Índia.
to greet the Minister of
Quero cumprimentar os
Trade and
ministros
Industry of
brasileiros que me
India, the
acompanham,
Brazilian ministers who have come with me,
os deputados e senadores.
the members of parliament
Quero
who have come
cumprimentar
with
os
us.
empresários
I'd like to
indianos,
greet
as
the Indian
empresárias,
business
os empresários brasileiros e as
people
empresárias
and the Brazilian
que fazem
business
parte
people who are
desse fórum empresarial.
part of this business forum and are here with us. I
sou muito otimista
am
na relação
very optimistic in
Brasil-Índia.
the India-Brazil
Sou muito
relation.
otimista porque nós temos
Very
muitas
optimistic
similaridades,
because we have a lot of
porque nós
similarities,
temos
because
muita
we
coisa em comum
have a lot of
e
things
porque
in
nós
common,
temos
and
o desejo
because we
de deixarmos de ser país
wish,
em via de
to
desenvolvimento
no longer
para nos
be
transformarmos
developing
em países
countries and become developed
As
nations.
oportunidades
The opportunities, they're here,
do
they've been given.
primeiro-ministro Modi e o papel
The
do
role
presidente da República do Brasil
Of Prime Minister Modi
é
and the
apenas
role
abrir as
of
portas
the Brazilian
os
president
empresários
is basically to
possam fazer
open the
aquilo que
door
eles
so
sabem,
that, the business community
negociar,
can do what they know
construir
best.
parcerias,
Negotiate, build
fazer
partnerships,
investimento
make
no
investments
Brasil e na
in
Índia
Brazil, in
para que
India,
as duas economias
so that
possam
both
crescer
economies
juntas.
may grow together.
Por isso,
Therefore,
eu faço questão
I
de participar de
You know,
fóruns
really
empresariais
do
em
want to
todas
take
as
part
minhas
in
viagens.
business forums in all
É muito
my
importante
trips. It is
que os presidentes
very
aprendam
important that
que
presidents
junto com eles
learn
eles
that
devem levar
with
uma
them
delegação de
they should
empresários
bring a delegation
para
of
que a
business
gente possa
people
fazer com
so
que
that we,
os negócios aconteçam
may
de
make
verdade.
business
Mas nenhum outro
really happen.
seminário
but in no other seminar has ever been that present in my plan. I mean, as soon as arranged with Prime Minister Modi my visit to India, as a return of the visit that he made to Brazil, I told him that it would be important for us to hold a big business meeting to make sure that India's and Brazil's wishes of becoming a great economy are being provided for, and thus I sent my Vice President Geraldo Alckmin, who had the first business mission to India last year, and in this state visit I have with me possibly the biggest delegation of ministers, business people of all the different trips that I have taken up until now, and this shows the commitment that I have with India. Trade flows and exchanges, as well as investment flows, they provide ballast to political relations among countries. Events such as this, they drive national development and the advance of innovative technologies. It also attracts investments that lead to income opportunity for workers in India as well as in Brazil. The distance between Brazil and India is but a detail vis-a-vis the potential for friendship between our countries. I had the honor of leading the signing of our strategic partnership back in 2006. Since then, our bilateral trade went from $2.4 billion to $15 billion. It is a lot of growth, but it's still not much if we take into consideration Brazil's and India's size. But can you think, right, that in 2006 our trade was only $2,400,000,000, so nothing really. And this is something that shows that not even did India look to Brazil or Brazil look to India, and all of us, I mean, we were, raised to look at the big powerhouses, to look to Europe, to the US, to look to Japan, and more recently China, and we didn't look at each other. We couldn't see each other. And now we have decided to change this. We decided to change this because the potential, of political, economic, cultural, scientific, technological integration between Brazil and India is something which is huge in its dimension, and perhaps we do not have the capability of seeing this. I was just saying this to the business people who we met. I was in India for 2005 when India managed to have international reserves of $100 billion for the first time. This was back in 2005. Brazil had no reserves at that time. Brazil owed $30 billion to the IMF. And Brazil, was always being charged with IMF representatives coming to Brazil. Because of that trip that I made to India, I decided that Brazil should have international reserves, and shortly after that we reached $370 billion in international reserves. In that same year, 2005, for the first time, Brazil managed to export the equivalent to $100 billion. It was a big celebration for Brazil, And today our international trade flow reaches $649 billion. So this shows that, the possibilities, they're there. Look, Prime Minister Modi and I have committed to work for us to reach $20 billion in trade exchange in a few years. I'd like to remind you that when I visited India in 2005, me and Prime Minister Singh, we committed to reach $10 billion 10 years later. So I said to Prime Minister Modi that $20 billion is not much for, India and Brazil. I mean, with the number of Indian business people that are in Brazil already, and with the number of Brazilian investors that want to invest in India, and with the attempt of bringing multilateralism to an end, implementing unilateralism, China, India and Brazil, instead of crying over spilt milk, what we need to do is to ensure that this happens between our two countries. And this is why I think, and I said this to Prime Minister Modi, that I will not be surprised that if by 2030 we have not reached 20 billion but 30 billion in bilateral trade between our two countries. All we need to do is, work for it. In today's world, the connectivity and commercial possibilities have become a synonym of resilience because of protectionism and trade unilateralism. Since the start of my term in office, Mercosur has signed agreements with Singapore, FICCI, and more recently with the European Union, increasing significantly the preferential trade agreement Mercosur-India that has been discussed since 2009 is a priority when you look for a possible free trade agreement for the future. Two such important markets such as Brazil and India needs a sort of wider-reaching, more ambitious framework. The reciprocal interest is growing. Over 100 missions by Brazilian business people actually visited India in the last 3 years. A great number of business people will benefit from extending the visa validity for business in terms from 5 to 10 years to support the private sector of both countries so that we may identify opportunities and actually close deals. The Brazilian Export Promotion Agency, APEX, yesterday opened their office in Delhi. And the agreement on cooperation for small, medium-sized companies that we signed today, they're going to support the exchange of experience in a crucial sector for creating jobs and for our economies in cutting-edge sectors such as IT, artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and space exploration. Opportunities are countless. The digital partnership with India is the first of this nature signed by Brazil. It will bring together cooperation in artificial intelligence, high-performance computing, startups of technological basis. We are also leaders in the creation of digital public infrastructure, the DPIs. The Brazilian PICCI and India's stack shows that it is possible to democratize technology and place innovation at the service of inclusion. Facing climate change is an obsession of my government. This year, we have reduced deforestation in the Amazon in 50% in relation to 2020 to 2026. We are going to have the lowest deforestation rate in Brazil's history. Brazil's doing its part to ensure that we have a planet where next generations can live in. We have been monitoring our biomes and we use science as a tool of care and sovereignty. Together with India, we want to be drivers of a new development model. We have transformed challenges of energy transition and of climate change into opportunities. India is the bioenergy market that grows the most in the world, and Brazil has half a century of experience with ethanol and dual fuel engines. At the level of the Global Biofuel Alliance, we are creating a world market. Energy and digital transition will not take place without critical minerals. Brazil has at least 26% of the world's reserves of critical minerals, and we have only 30% of its territory prospected, just like India. We have established the National Mission for Critical Minerals. Brazil has set up a national council linked to the presidency of the Republic to ensure our sovereignty. We want to attract the processing chain for this wealth for the Brazilian territory without having to make excluding options. The agreement that we signed today with India, it goes in this direction. Precisely. Dear friends, we also have synergies in the agri-livestock sector. We are the second and fourth biggest producers of food in the world. The zebra cattle in Brazil has its origins from the start of the 20th century through importing of Nelore and Ghee cows from the Gujarat, which is the home state of Prime Minister Modi. Today, Brazil sells its animal genetics to India. We can cooperate in integrating agricultural productive chains, in technological innovation, sustainable use of soil, and also in global food security. The health industrial complex is another strategic line for cooperation and bilateral trade. India is a big provider of pharmaceutical inputs for Brazil. We have a track record of joint action to ensure wide-reaching and cheap access of generic medication for low-income populations and also for developing countries. In this forum, we signed 3 agreements of strategic partnership with Fiocruz, with local companies for developing vaccines, medications, and essential inputs. Another field with a lot of potential is for smart hospitals, such as the one that the Minister of Health, Alexandre Padilha, visited in Bangalore. Brazilian industry is competitive in many different sectors with high technological content and value-added content, such as aeronautics and spatial sectors. India is already the third biggest commercial aviation market in the world and one of the biggest global defense markets, with very ambitious modernizing schemes. In both areas, Brazil is ready to cooperate. We don't want just to sell. We want to buy. We want to invest and consolidate our presence in India with the transfer of technology and personnel capacity building. With the agreement signed by Embraer with the Adani and Mahindra Group, these agreements are going to allow for the production of commercial and defense aircraft here in India. In order to attract investments, Brazil has undergone a historic tax reform, which Minister Fernando Haddad has probably mentioned when he spoke to you this morning. Today, we offer legal certainty, economic stability, political stability, and social stability. The Growth Acceleration Program, the PAC, and the new Brazil industry, which mobilized over $50 billion, they are open to Indian participation in areas such as clean energy, electrical mobility, health, aerospace, semiconductors, and digital innovation. My friends, Brazil is going to continue to increase our relations with the world without distinction or automatic alignments. Business have no color, religion, or ideology. You, business people, you business people, you are the core for these opportunities to become a reality. Paraphrasing Prime Minister Indira Gandhi when she visited Brazil in 1968, she used to say, the future does not arrive on its own. We need to wish it. So let's get to work. Good luck.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your visionary address and for reaffirming the strength and future potential of the India-based partnerships. We now request our dignitaries to kindly come forward for the official photograph. Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you, Honorable Minister, sir. We would request all our distinguished guests and participants to kindly remain seated